the degree to which we are supplied with nerve force energy. That's to say, the degree to which we embody our life force energy is the degree to which we are enthusiastic and happy. And you can't beat a person with powerful nerve force energy. So no matter how many times they fail, they rise up again. They start afresh again. And in the end, they win. Because they're inwardly happy. And thus, with this happiness, they dominate all difficulties. They welcome problems and difficulties because they have enough nerve force energy to cope with them. And when we're supplied with this powerful, universal, life-giving energy that is the basis of all bodily activity, it's the source behind the function of the organs and the whole bodily system and our mental capability. We'll start to identify with that energy. And we'll realize that it is that energy that is at the root of thought. And thus, naturally will create a distance between what is us, what is this energy, and what is the thought process. We'll realize that we're the awareness that is observing, is the witness of the continuous stream of consciousness. Because thoughts are in a perpetual flux. They come and go, just like this ever seemingly changing world around us. Yet there's always the constant. And that constant is the loving witness within, dormant, within each and every living entity's heart. And when we have our heart open, there'll be brain-heart coherence. Naturally, we'll be guided by what we can call the higher mind. Because again, we've allowed this nerve force energy not to be depleted outwardly, expended outwardly. Maybe a man releasing his seed or semen, or overindulging in worldly activities such as perpetually feeding the flesh, living for the body, not seeing that there is something beyond that. There's more to life than mere survival. When we allow this nerve force energy to accumulate, when we retain it and cherish it, nourish it, and protect it, and value our life, naturally the energy rises up within us and it stimulates what we can call the higher mind. It starts with the heart. We think more in terms of service to others than service to self, because there's no longer an identification as a separate entity, as a body, as a boundary that separates me from the world around me, because there's that heartfelt connection, because you feel the presence of that energy not only within yourself but with everything else as well. You see that everything is an extension of that self-same energy that's within you. You feel that viscerally, and thus naturally you live in harmony. And what is heaven but harmony? As within, so without. What you feel within, what you witness within subjectively, is going to be reflected outwardly. There's no problems in the world inherently. All perceived problems are projection. They stem from within. Life has no problems. And when we're supplied with this life force energy, there'll naturally be no problems. Observe the cat and the dog. They're completely content. They're not getting in their own way, overthinking. Because, looping back to what I said, when we create a distance between what is us, what is this energy, at the root of thought, and what is thought, naturally there'll be an inner stillness, a silence, because our energy, our awareness is risen within the body. And we'll see that we're the constant. We're the space, the silence between thoughts. And thus we won't be dominated by the mind, by bodily compulsions, or the concept of time, because that constant is eternal. And when there's that space between what is oneself and what is thought, they'll be able to use the mind much more effectively. Because they're not at the whim of it. They don't identify with it. They don't identify with the body. Body's an expression of mind. They identify with the life energy, which is supplying the body and mind, which is beating the heart, which is breathing the lungs, which is growing our hair. My thoughts aren't doing that. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about my nails growing. They can do that by themselves, right? And we can see this easily. We can understand that conceptually. But to really feel this nerve force energy, we want to be aware of our activity. Certain activities drain that energy, while other activities allow that energy to flourish within us and to build up and to restore the body and to purify the mind and to get rooted in the moment so that we're not at the whim of time, which is simply a concept, right? It's a thought, which is fundamentally irrelevant to the constant, which is beyond it, which is in this forever moment. Can't escape it. Why would we want to? It's beautiful. It's blissful. It's eternal. It's simultaneously impersonal and personal. God is both personal and impersonal. before I let you go, I want to mention also that in the last video, I said that I walk a 7-mile loop every day. And I want to say this because integrity, living integris, is really the yardstick or the measure of happiness. And in the same measure, happiness is the yardstick for success. And I want to say that the other day, I skipped 7-mile loop. So it's not every day. I said I walk it without compromise, no exception, right? But say there's a fasting day or whatever. It happened to be fasting day that I didn't walk it. So you can't really take back what you said. But I just want to say now that I do compromise. Just to clear the air for my own peace of mind. Most days I do it. I go on a hike, I go on a long walk, but I'm not bound to it. It's not something that I have to do. It's something that I choose to do, and it's something that I want to do. And I just want to say that because I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know, I said in that video that I don't compromise. I go on the walk every day. But I don't want to be bound to that mentally. So I say this now. Because nothing is hidden, right? We always are able to intuit someone's inner state. Their inner state, their thoughts and feelings, their vibration is transmitted. And the degree to which we are in tune with this energy is the degree to which we see clearly. And we can read that energy in another person, another living entity, not necessarily a human being. So there's that connection. And when we understand that there is nothing to hide, the person who lives with integrity, that's actually comforting for them. Because they have nothing to hide. Because they live openly. They live in integrity, so there's nothing to sweep under the rug, so to speak. Like I said in one of my last videos, I'll tell you any dirt, anything about the past that could potentially bring you value, because I don't identify with that. It has nothing to do with this moment. I identify with the constant. I am the constant. And you are too. The body, we can say this is my body, although I realize I'm not a body. I have a body. I'm a soul within a body. But this is my body, that's your body. This is my mind, that's your mind. But when it comes to the constant, when it comes to consciousness, when it comes to self-same life energy, there's only two things in the universe, right? Energy and consciousness. When it comes to those two fundamental qualities, those spiritual, universal qualities, when it comes to the essence, which is in back of all appearance, which is in back of the body and mind, which is in back of seeming separation and the illusion of time, then we realize that there is no separation. That really, this is not my body and that's your body, it's all one body. The earth is one big organism, and we're simply an individual expression of the same organism, of the same mind. This body is an individualization, an individual expression of the one presence, the one life-giving energy that we all are fundamentally. I want to think in terms of fundamentals, right? Think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Because that's really what dictates our life experience, what we experience subjectively. We're all searching for a higher degree of pleasantness. And that starts within us. We may confuse it with a search outside of us. And that could be referred to as doing the circuit, doing the loop. But eventually, you gotta look within. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. It has to do with this nerve force energy. We can attune our every activity so that it's in harmony. We can see the world clearly, that everything is in harmony and contribution to our vision, to your vision. Whatever your purpose is, whatever you're here for, whatever you're here so that energy can manifest your purpose through you. That's what you're here for. But you gotta go within to discover that. You don't want to determine it based on what somebody else tells you. You should do this, you should do that. You gotta go within and do the soul searching. You can't avoid the inner work. You gotta overcome those lower emotions. And it happens naturally when you build up that nerve force energy. When the activity of the physical vessel in the body is in harmony with the world around it. Because it's no longer identifies as a personal separate me. Because the heart's open. So they're no longer driven. Solar plexus. They're no longer compulsively driven. They may appear from the outside looking in, from other people observing, they may appear to be doing the same activity. But inwardly, subjectively, the activity is held in a different context. And because they're at a higher level of consciousness, so their inward experience is different. And we can see this practically. Two people doing the same job, let's say serving at a restaurant. one's inner attitude is genuinely that of service. They like what they're doing. They love what they're doing. They want to be there. And another person's kind of, I can't wait to get home. They're thinking about the future. They're kind of dragging their feet. And, so it's not the job, the work outwardly that is of significance, but really the attitude inwardly. What we're witnessing subjectively on a daily basis. That really has to do with our level of consciousness. And it's safe to say that many of us, for long periods of time, operate kind of from a base level of consciousness. But suddenly, in a flash, unexpectedly, that life energy can raise to the peak of consciousness, can hit the peak at any moment. So, we want to prepare ourselves with certain knowledge and information, because when that happens, it can be a shock, because it can be like, whoa, this is it. Like, it's really hard to it's really hard to conceptualize and to put into language, because it's beyond language. It's beyond the mind. It's not a linear processing system. It's not from point A to point B. It's not reading a book which starts from the left and goes to the right, because it has nothing to do with sequence. It has nothing to do with time. It's, wow, I was always thinking of myself as limited to this, when really I'm all this. Right? Like I said before, words family. You can try to conceptualize it, and I love doing so, because it's an expression of that energy. It's a way of serving it. Every activity, even brushing your teeth. I was just doing some editing, a book that I'm writing, and I was laughing, saying, basically I said, not gonna repeat what I wrote down verbatim, but you can be serving humanity even while brushing your teeth, because it's really, you're an expression of that self-same energy. And when you're aware of the Lord inwardly, this energy inwardly, perpetually, whatever the activity, then you're serving all of humanity, which is an expression of that same energy. Even modern science will tell you, everything's one energy. There's no division between religion and science. There's a connection. They converge in the middle, where the truth is found, within you. You can understand things scientifically and see the connection with those objective truths spiritually. Because everything in the world, all form, all objectification of the one life source has that source within it, which is simultaneously intrinsic to it, yet beyond it. We can say that the material world, the world of form, and the spiritual world are one. There's no separation. And we can draw that distinction mentally. We can understand that, hey, subjectively, I can go within by doing soul searching, by closing my eyes and giving this one, this piece of life, proper attention by valuing it. And naturally, that will be reflected in valuing everything else around you as well. Because this life is not separate. Love is not something to get. Love is something to give. And the more you give it, the more you receive it. Because giving and receiving are one. It flows back to you. What you reap, you shall sow. Energy you put out comes back to you. And like goes to like. The more you're loving, the more you'll attract love. The more you'll see that it's in the air all around us. That it is us. It's beyond concepts. It's a higher state of consciousness. It's beyond reason. And when you're in that loving state, there is a different way of thinking, a different way of reasoning. It's not limited to the world of physicality. Although it still feels that sense of harmony, feels connected with it, but it doesn't identify with it. That's a distinction. It identifies with the world within. It doesn't have to go out and look up at the stars in the sky, because it simply closes its eyes and witness that within. And then it can open its eyes and feel that sense of connection. And understand that, yes, there's a distinction between the subjective world and the objective world. Fundamentally, they're connected. And that's a seeming paradox. That's why it can be difficult to express. Because when I express, I'm dealing in concepts, but that world within is beyond concepts. That blissful silence, the stillness. Be still and know that I am God. It's always right now. It's always with us. Anyways, God bless. Catch you in the next.